Hi everyone, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I am broadcasting to you live from beautiful Budapest, capital city of Hungary here in Central Europe. And today we are looking at IELTS general reading. We are looking at a section 3 passage, which is a little bit unique. Hi Nair, hi Abhi Jeswal, hi Charmine, welcome students. Again, materials, this reading or reading audio and our strategies come from our websites, gieltshelp.com for general IELTS, that's generalieltshelp.com. And if you are studying for academic IELTS, visit us at aehelp.com. Now, academic IELTS, the reading and writing sections are different than for the general. However, students, remember that the third section of general IELTS reading is very, very similar to academic IELTS, okay? So I'm going to give you that as a first note for today's class, even before we kick off with other announcements. Keep that in mind, all right? So if you can do well in section 3 reading of general IELTS, you should actually do well on academic IELTS reading sections as well. So remember this. So it's an interesting note, okay? So note, section 3 reading passage of the general IELTS is very similar, if not the same, as academic IELTS reading passages. Okay, what do I mean by that? Let me show you. Okay, I'll show you what I mean by that. Hi Yeme, hi Adil. I see lots of other students joining in as well now. So I'm jumping over to our test 4. Again, this is coming from our websites. And notice here that it says section 3. This is the passage we're looking at today, titled Music and Technology. Are we really hearing the artist? So this is the title of our general IELTS reading section 3. Now, you probably remember from last week and the week before that the first 2 sections of general IELTS are different. Okay, so let me show you. All right, students, so here is section 2, and notice how section 1 is very similar, by the way. Section 2 for general IELTS, you have one passage, it's about a page long, okay, and then you have questions. You have about 6 questions, 7 questions after. This one's a flowchart question. Then, this is still section 2. You have another passage. It's also about 1 page long. This has to do with transportation information. And then you have, again, another 6, 7 questions. So that's what section 1, section 2 look like for general reading. They each have 2 passages that are more simple, and they're followed by 6, 7 questions. It's easier to search for information in general IELTS section 1 and 2, but not in section 3. Why? It's much more like academic IELTS. So take a look. So here's section 3. This is what we're doing today. Section 3, you will notice, is much longer. It's 2 pages, or maybe 2 and a little bit, like here. And then it's followed by questions 28 to 34. So it has 13 questions, all connected to that one passage that's about 800 words long, okay? For section 3 in general IELTS, it's much, much more difficult to search for answers in the passage. You have to read, understand, and answer, okay? So it's another important tip to really keep in mind when you're practicing IELTS at home and you're getting ready for the exam, okay? So note number 2 for today, okay? it is much easier. I'm going to say easier because it's never really easy, but it's much easier to search for answers in sections 1 and 2 of general IELTS reading. You should not do it in academic IELTS. General IELTS reading, then in section 3. Okay. For section 3, you need to read the passage and answer questions based on your comprehension. Okay, it's an important tip to keep in mind, all right? There's more paraphrasing, less words that you will actually find in the text, all right? Thank you for all those emojis, thumbs up, and kisses, guys and girls. Hi, Eugene. Good to see you in class. All right, so coming back to the introductions here, before we look at the text and more strategies, if you have questions about IELTS or about our products, our websites, our exams, our strategies, don't be shy. Send me an email. I'm really happy to answer questions for students, make ideas clear so that you know what to do to get those high IELTS band scores. So send me an email to Adrian, ADRIAN, at gieltshelp.com. So GIELTSHELP.com, okay? And again, we have academic IELTS on our Academic English Help YouTube channel after this class at 15 to 16 o'clock Central European time. So these times here are actually wrong for this class because this class is 13:30 to 14:30 every day, and our academic IELTS classes are 15 to 16 o'clock on our academic English Help channel. Okay, so check us out there. All right, students, so we will now continue with the reading. Don't worry about the questions right now. Let's just practice some reading fluency. So I'm going to play some audio in a minute, and you will have a chance to read along. Before we do that, let's talk about the title. When you prepare for IELTS at home, students, you should always read the title, pay attention to the title. That will help you understand the information. It's especially important for this section 3 behind me. So let's talk about it. Think about what is it, why is it, how is it? So music and technology. Are we really hearing the artist? Students, what is music and technology? So what is music and technology? When you hear this, music and technology, what is that? What do you think the author is thinking about when they put these two words together, music and technology? Okay. So what does that mean? Mukesh Rawat says, well, it's music with new technology. Dilpreet says it's maybe songs on smartphones. Abhi Jaswal says maybe it's music and advanced instruments used. Okay, like electric guitar, maybe. Abhishek says, well, maybe it's technological instruments that we use nowadays to make songs sound impressive. Abhishek, that's really a clever idea, especially when you look at, are we really hearing the artist, okay? So you want to train yourself to do this very quickly in the actual official IELTS. So practice this skill at home. It should only take you a minute. Read the title, ask what, why, how. Okay, this is a strategy. It's a very important one. Read the title of the passage and ask what, why, how. Okay, just like what we did now. All right, so here is our example. What is music and tech? Okay, answer, computers and software to make music sound great. All right. Why do we do this? So why do we use technology to make music sound great? What's the purpose? What do you think? Okay. Why would we do that? Again, when we think about this, it's going to really help us understand the information and the questions as well. So why would people go through the trouble of making music sound better with technology? So Abhishek says for new kinds of music like remixes and rap songs. Yeah, so to create new genres or new types of music. Sure, that's possible. Okay, why else? Okay. So to create new music. Absolutely, electronic music, right? There's a whole new genre. To make it even more impressive, yeah. So to make it even better than in the past, yeah, sure, why not? Okay. And don't forget, there are some general truths that you can always think about when you are using your critical thinking, what, why, how. One of these is money, the other is time, right? People are obsessed with time and money. So one of the reasons we want music to sound better is to make money, right? To make money, sell songs. Hey, if you can make your voice sound great, I know I got a voice like a frog when I'm singing, and if I can make that sound great and sell it, why not, right? All right, so how do we do it is the next question. And I have an answer for that from Abhi Jaswal. Abhi, you're answering the how question. So be always very clear about which question you're answering, the what, the why, or the how. So how do we do it? With software such as auto-tuning. Okay, sure. All right. So what is music and technology? Well, it's one way to think about it is computer and software to make music sound great. Why do we do this? To create new sounds, new music, to make it better than in the past, to make money. How do we do it? Well, with software such as auto-tuning, adding in new sounds that weren't possible before. Fantastic. Okay, so far so good, students. So again, in the IELTS, when you get to passage 3, and for example, this is it. This is your passage 3, your section 3. This is what you need to think about and think about quickly before you start reading, okay? Now, let's just read this together. Let's not worry about the questions. We'll do that together after. We'll do 2 read-throughs, okay? The first one is just some fluency practice here. So I'm going to jump over to our website. And as you can see up here in our exam books, it says Reading Audio CD 4 because it's exam 4 and it's track 9. So one of the really cool features of our exams is we include British audio for all of our reading. You don't have that in the real exam, but it's great for getting ready and practicing at home. Okay? So I know a lot of you students already have our full course. You join when you click that red button. Okay? And when you join our premium course, you get access to your My Student account. That's where you log in. I'm already logged in, so I'm just going to click there. Let's end the tour. We don't need that. And then here's our audio CDs. There's a lot of them for speaking, listening, and reading. And we are going into CD 4, track number 9. And then let's read this together, okay? So focus on the information. Try to read aloud, copy the reader. Okay, here we go. Everybody just read, and then we'll look at the questions and read after again and do it together. So here we go. Volume is maxed on my end. So if it's quiet on your side, turn up the volume or try to use a headset. Okay, here we go.
Music and technology. Are we really hearing the artist? The pursuit of perfection is one of the driving forces behind humanity. But is perfection really the right goal? Can perfection even be a bad thing? Some music critics think so. Through the use of software that automatically corrects incorrect notes, today's musical artists are no longer giving us a real version of their voice. We hear an idealized or perfect version of their voice. Driven by the quest for perfection, it seems we may have lost some of the soul and humanity of previous musical eras. Music from 50 years ago, even by the greatest singers, is riddled with small errors. Flat notes, poorly matched harmonies, and other imperfections give the work a certain human quality. But in the 1990s, computer software was developed that could correct these small imperfections. It would take a flat note and raise its pitch to where it was supposed to be. Likewise, a sharp note was lowered to its appropriate pitch. In its early years, this automatic tuning software was rather rudimentary and resulted in an artificial and electronic-sounding tone. It was very obvious to the listener that they were hearing an edited human voice. Soon, however, the software was developed to the point a song could be corrected and the audience would not know. Some artists use the tone correction software itself for aesthetic value. That is to say, they believe the resulting sound of rudimentary and electronic-sounding corrections is aesthetically pleasing. Most music critics do not have a problem with this type of usage. Cher, the original artist to use correction software successfully, used it in this fashion. The American hip-hop artist T-Pain is notorious for using the software for this aesthetic effect. So why is it okay for artists like Cher and T-Pain to use the software, but wrong for others? The answer is that Cher and T-Pain are not trying to deceive anyone. They are not presenting their songs as the product of their voices alone. Other artists, however, do present automatically corrected songs as their own. This is morally problematic, since they are intentionally deceiving their audience. It is this deception that is one of two major points against the usage of this software. The second point against using the software is that it actually has the opposite effect to that intended. Rather than reaching perfection, it has gone too far and become robotic. One can compare analogously to a game of football. People watching football and other sports love to see great players play and perform incredible athletic feats. We love greatness, but we do not desire perfection. Nobody wants to watch a football game played with perfect football-playing robots. The idea is absurd, because it removes the humanity of the sport. And so it is with music. In making a song sound perfect, the singer is turned into something of a robot, devoid of all musical soul. The small imperfections are what give great songs their individual character. Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones, for example, is notoriously prone to off-key notes. But this is part of who he is as a singer and what makes him great. An automatically corrected Mick Jagger would, the critics say, be inferior to the real thing. We have no way of knowing which artists use the software and which ones do not. Unfortunately, this software can now be used instantaneously, and as such can be used in live performances. The next time you attend a concert, you might wonder to yourself if you are really hearing the artist, or if you are actually hearing a kind of robot. Furthermore, you may lament the fact that, if the artist is indeed using the software, you may be missing out on what might be an incredibly soulful, if imperfect, human voice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that is a general IELTS Section 3 passage, okay? And some of you, maybe that are doing academic IELTS, might say, hey, wow, that really seems like an academic IELTS reading passage, and because they're very, very similar, okay? So let's do this together now. Let's have a look at the questions. Now, students often ask me, should I look at the questions before the passage? Yes, but you don't necessarily want to read all of them. Only read questions that have information which is in the passage, because those will help you to understand the passage. Do not read questions or information in questions that are extra or false information, because they will confuse you when you're reading the passage. Okay? It's a very important tip. So here we go. First set of questions for this is, which paragraph contains the following information? So this question is called matching information to the paragraph. Should I read this before the passage? Should I read this type of question before the passage, matching information to the passage? Is it a good idea? Hi, Pachu. Hopefully, a lot of you are thinking right now, well, is that information that's somewhere in the passage? Yes, it is. Okay, Abhishek. Matching information is in the passage. Don't skim or scan the passage for it, absolutely not, but these are good to read before you read the passage. So, an example of an imperfect artist, yeah, that's okay to read before the passage, is somewhere in there. The usage of tone correction software for the aesthetic experience. Eliminating mistakes is the goal of humanity. A key moral difference in the usage of tone correction software. A sports analogy. Lack of clarity about what a concert goer is really thinking. The origins of tone correction software. Okay, good. Next set of questions, multiple choice. Here, don't read the choices. Just read the question. 3 out of 4 of these choices are false. They will confuse you. So just read this. What does tone correction software do? How did rudimentary usages of the software differ from modern usages? How do artists like T-Pain and Cher use the software? Question 38 to 40, true, false, not given. Don't read this before the passage, because if there's 2 false and 1 not given, then they will just confuse you, okay? So don't read this one, okay? So true, false, not given, don't read this. I'll give you strategies for each question as we go through. For now, let's go back and read the passage together nice and slow, focusing on the information, all right? So thank you for your answer, Vishal. Thank you for your answer, Pachu. You are correct for that first set of questions, all right? Let's go back and read this passage. This is practice that you want to do at home when you're getting ready for your IELTS exam, all right? Here we go. Music and technology, are we really hearing the artist? Read with me, okay? I'm going to read a little bit slower than the audio, and we'll focus on understanding. The pursuit of perfection is one of the driving forces behind humanity. But is perfection really the right goal? Can perfection even be a bad thing? Some music critics think so. Through the usage of software that automatically corrects incorrect notes, today's musical artists are no longer giving us a real version of their voice. We hear an idealized or perfect version of their voice. Driven by the quest for perfection, it seems we may have lost some of the soul and humanity of previous musical eras. Okay, students, what is the introduction about? What is the introduction about? Okay, so this is something that you should practice at home for comprehension. Okay, so think of what, why, how for each paragraph. So what is paragraph A? The introduction about. And the answer is? Yes, Pachu, this is absolutely very, very similar to Cambridge. Okay, Omar Al-Najjar says the recent change in music in terms of the artist's sound as a result of technology, right? I would say that this paragraph is about the pursuit of perfection in music. Okay, it's about the pursuit of perfection in music. Abhi Jaswal agrees, says perfection in music. Yeah, Abhi, that's a very nice, simple way to put it. So you said it's about perfection in music. Why does the paragraph discuss this? So why does the paragraph discuss this perfection in music, as Abhi Jaswal said correctly, by the way, Abhi? That's a very nice, simple way to put it. So why does the paragraph introduce the idea of perfection in music? Okay, what's the answer to that? Being able to answer this what, why, how will give you answers to the questions that we just looked at. And you'll see that that's how it works. Okay. Why? Because this may, in fact, be a negative development. Right? So this introductory paragraph says that might actually be a bad thing. So it's maybe bad that we're trying to make music sound perfect. Okay? All right? And how does this goal of perfection happen? With, and you should get this quickly, with the use of correction technology. Okay, so that's the what, why, how for that first paragraph. Okay, so what is it about perfection in music? Why? Well, maybe it's a bad thing. How? Using technology to change the sound of the singer. Okay, he says auto-tuning. Absolutely. Okay, let's read paragraph B. Music from 50 years ago, even by the greatest singers, is riddled with small errors, flat notes, poorly matched harmonies, and other imperfections give the work a certain human quality. But in the 1990s, computer software was developed that could correct these small imperfections. It would take a flat note and raise its pitch to where it was supposed to be. Likewise, a sharp note was lowered to its appropriate pitch. In its early years, this automatic tuning software was rather rudimentary and resulted in artificial and electronic sounding tone. It was very obvious to the listener that they were hearing an edited human voice. Soon, however, the software was developed to the point a song could be corrected and the audience would not know. Okay? What is this paragraph about? Auto-tuning software. Why? To make imperfect singers and songs perfect. How? By changing sharp notes and flat notes to where they are supposed to be. Okay? In a perfect world, when you're reading and practicing for IELTS, and when you're sitting in the real IELTS, this is how smoothly you can ask and answer what, why, how for each paragraph. If you can do that, you will get a band 9. Promise you. Okay? So, let's keep going. By the way, students, please read aloud, and this speed that I'm reading is perfectly okay in the IELTS to get a band 7, 8, or 9. Okay, you don't have to read super fast. My speed that I'm reading right now is absolutely okay for the IELTS to read all 3 passages, answer all the questions, and get a high band score. Okay, so keep going with me, students. Some artists use the tone correction software itself for aesthetic value. That is to say, they believe the resulting sound of rudimentary and electronic sounding corrections is aesthetically pleasing. Most music critics do not have a problem with this type of usage. Cher, the original artist to use correction software successfully, used it in this fashion. The American hip-hop artist T-Pain is notorious for using the software for this aesthetic effect. What is this paragraph about? What is this paragraph about? Okay, so instead of me giving it to you this time, you tell me, students, what is this paragraph about? So Rekha says it's uses of the software. Okay, I think a little bit more specific than that, Rekha. It's a little bit more than just the uses. Santosh says it's the importance of software in music, kind of. Manzir says artists are using the software, kind of. Okay. Abhi Jaswal says beauty of music. Yes, Abhi, you're a little bit closer. Absolutely. So it's using software to make music beautiful. Okay, not perfect, so careful, not perfect, but to make music sound beautiful. Everybody remembers that Cher song from many years ago that sounds something like, "Do you believe in life after love?" And I know I sounded really weird there, but the song kind of sounds weird like that. Her voice goes really strange. Don't judge me for my singing, students. But do you believe in life after love, where she goes like this in her voice with the software, right? So that's what this paragraph is referring to. So it's making the music sound more beautiful with software. Okay. Why? Okay. Why? To make it sound more interesting, more appealing. How? By using the software to change tones. Okay. So how does the paragraph support this idea? By giving the examples of Cher and T-Pain, the hip-hop artist. Okay, good. Let's keep going. So again, read with me, continue with me, students. So why is it okay for artists like Cher and T-Pain to use the software but wrong for others? The answer is that Cher and T-Pain are not trying to deceive anyone. They are not presenting their songs as the product of their voices alone. Other artists, however, do present automatically corrected songs as their own. This is morally problematic, since they are intentionally deceiving their audience. It is this deception that is one of two major points against the usage of this software. Okay? What is this paragraph about? So what is paragraph D about? It's a good question. What is paragraph D about? I'll give you a word that might help you answer this. Ethic. Okay, Abhi Jaswal says accepting using the software. Yeah, absolutely, Abhi. That's a very nice, elegant, simple way to say it. I agree. Yeah. I'm wondering if somebody will use the word ethics in their answer. It's the ethics of using software, right? Morally wrong or right. So is it acceptable morally, so as a human, do we feel okay with the idea of using software in this way, right? Okay. Why? Why? So why does the paragraph talk about the ethics or the morally right or wrong? Why? Yeah, Pachu, that's another good way to say it, is the differences for and against using the software. Yeah. Santosh, it's not really the advantage, disadvantage, it's the ethics. It's the ethics of it. Right? So is it acceptable or is it just wrong? Right? Why? Why does the paragraph explain this, or why does it express this idea? There's one word in there that repeats a couple times, which is the answer here. And you really need to understand this Section 3 General IELTS at this level if you want to get a band 7, 8, 9. Okay? It's very important. There's one word that you can pick out. Okay? When you see a word like this repeat a couple of times in the passage, you must realize that that's a very important idea to the passage. Yeah, that's right up here. It's deceiving, right? The word deceive means to trick somebody, okay? So if I show you a gold coin and you say, hey, I'll buy that. When you give me the money, I change it for a silver coin, and you don't realize it, I'm deceiving you or I'm tricking you, okay? So here, why does the paragraph talk about the ethics of using the software? Because some artists deceive the audience. They make you think that you're listening to their true voice, but you're not actually listening to their true voice. Okay? How? By changing their voice and selling it as their true voice. Okay? Let's keep going, students. So the second point against, so here we go, the second point, it's your topic. The second point against using the software is that it actually has the opposite effect to that intended. Rather than reaching perfection, it has gone too far and become robotic. One can compare analogously to a game of football. People watching football and other sports love to see great players play and perform incredible athletic feats. We love greatness, but we do not desire perfection. Nobody wants to watch a football game played with perfect football playing robots. The idea is absurd because it removes the humanity of the sport. And so it is with music. In making a song sound perfect, the singer is turned into something of a robot, devoid of all musical soul. The small imperfections are what give great songs their individual character. Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones, for example, is notoriously prone to off-key notes. But this is part of who he is as a singer and what makes him great. An automatically corrected Mick Jagger would, the critics say, be inferior to the real thing. What is this paragraph about? It's the second point of not using software in music. Why? Because it actually makes it sound worse. So being more perfect makes the music less beautiful. How? Well, just like a game of football where you have robots that are perfect at kicking goals and at defending. And it would be really boring to watch because it'd probably be 0-0 every game as all of the defenders are perfect. Okay? Mick Jagger is the other example from the Rolling Stones, potentially the most famous rock group of all time. If he were to sound perfect, people would say that he doesn't actually sound as good. Okay? Let's keep going. Yeah, Uppy, that's right. Lack of originality in search of perfection, or loss of originality and beauty in search of perfection, Uppy. Loss of originality and beauty. Here we go, students. We have no way of knowing which artist uses the software and which ones do not. Unfortunately, this software can now be used instantaneously, and as such can be used in live performances. The next time you attend a concert, you might wonder to yourself if you are really hearing the artist or if you are actually hearing a kind of robot. Furthermore, you may lament the fact that if the artist is indeed using the software, you may be missing out on what might be an incredibly soulful, if imperfect, human voice. All right. What is it about? It's about using software in real time. Why? To make live performances sound perfect. How? By implementing real-time auto-correcting software and, in fact, in the end, losing the quality or the truthfulness of the situation. Okay, students, that's the what, why, how. You should practice reading like that at home. Now let's look at the questions and let's talk a little bit of strategy here. All right, so here we go. Which paragraph contains the following information? Write the correct letter A to F in boxes 28 to 34 on your answer sheet. Note, by the way, you may use any letter more than once. An example of an imperfect artist. So number 28. Is that introduction? Is that body paragraph? Or is it conclusion? Intro, do I find it in the introduction? Do I find it in the body, or do I find it in the conclusion? Well, it's an example of an imperfect artist, so I know that it's probably a body paragraph, right? Does anybody remember who that imperfect artist is? Yeah, that's right, Munzir. That's right, Santosh. So I'm showing you a strategy for matching information. If you have to search, you need to know where to search, okay? So for this kind of question, if you have to search, don't search the whole passage. That's going to waste your time. Okay? An example of an imperfect artist. It's not T-Pain. It's not Cher. Uppy says, in the last line, the name was mentioned. We didn't talk about T-Pain and Cher as imperfect artists. We talked about them as artists that use the software for creating more beauty, right? Abhishek, it says it's the paragraph, the one with the football. Carlos Martinez, thank you for joining in on the chat with your correct answer. That's what Carlos says. Guys, that was Mick Jagger. Okay? Carlos says Mick Jagger is the artist that sounds kind of imperfect but is super famous. Okay? And you are right. So Mick Jagger it is. And if I have to look, okay, F is the, so here, the question, A to F. So A is the introduction, okay? A is intro, and F obviously is the conclusion. So every paragraph in between, B, C, D, E, are the body paragraphs. So here, the answer is E, because my imperfect artist is Mick Jagger, right? So here it is. Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones, for example, is notoriously prone to off-key notes. Off-key notes means that he is imperfect, right? Everyone? Again, paraphrasing carefully, if you're scanning for answers, you won't find this one easily. Okay, you have to understand that Mick Jagger is the example of the imperfect artist. So the answer is E. Okay, and I know where to search because I know it's a body paragraph piece of information. The usage of tone correction software for the aesthetic experience. So using this software to make music more beautiful. Body paragraph, introduction, or conclusion? This one. Using tone correction software to make music sound more beautiful. Would that be body, intro, or conclusion? Mukesh Robot says that's probably going to be body paragraph type information. And you're right, Mukesh. Absolutely. Okay. Making it sound beautiful, not perfect. Okay. Don't confuse beauty and perfection. Aesthetic means beautiful. It doesn't mean perfect. They're not the same. Okay. That's a very common mistake in human thinking. So body paragraph. Okay. Body paragraph, beginning, middle, or end. Near the beginning, right? Near the beginning. So let's take a look. Okay. Oh, there it is. Some artists use the tone correction software itself for aesthetic value. Okay, so I know that it's body paragraph, I know that it's near the beginning, and I know that it's a what question. That's how I can find it so quickly. Okay, so let me explain that one more time with pen and pencil. So this one here, I can figure out that it's body. I can figure out that it's not a why, it's not a how, it's a what. Okay, so what do we use? What do we use this software for? For increasing aesthetic experience. And I know that it's somewhere in the beginning. So these three pieces of information in my logic and in my reading comprehension, by practicing this skill of what, why, how at home, I can figure out that it's somewhere in paragraph B, C, okay? And so I go back and I look at B and I look at C and I look at the beginning where you have the what information, and I catch very quickly that the answer is C. Okay, so I'm not just searching and skimming the whole passage like a mad person, wasting time, getting frustrated and confused. Okay, but I'm going to a specific area in the passage. Right? So now I know that it's C. All right. Eliminating mistakes is the goal of humanity. So eliminating mistakes is the goal of humanity. Intro, body, conclusion. Oh, Manzir Pachu, thank you very much. Yeah, our goal is to give all you students fantastic tips and really improve your band scores. Our websites, by the way, students, or your full courses are full of these kinds of strategies. All right? So, introduction, body, or conclusion. Maybe a conclusion, Pachu. You're right, it could be a conclusion. Or... see, it's not even, think about it, there's no mention of music here. It's eliminating mistakes. Another way to say eliminating mistakes is perfection. Right? Watch the paraphrasing. So perfection is the same as eliminating mistakes in this case. It could be the conclusion. If it's not the conclusion, then what would it be? So you're saying that's maybe the conclusion. Maybe it is. If it's not the conclusion, then what would it be? It would be the introduction, right? The intro and the conclusion are sometimes a bit of a mirror of each other, right? So it's either the introduction or the conclusion. If you're not sure, the best place to start is the introduction, okay? So let's have a look. Oh, before I go there, is it a what, is it a why, or a how? So if I say, okay, maybe introduction, maybe conclusion on this very general piece of information or idea, is it a what, is it a why, or is it a how? Answer that for me. So which question is this sentence trying to focus on? Prexy, thanks for joining in on the chat with the correct answer. Prexy Jantelo, saying it's a what. Yeah, what are people trying to do? Exactly, not why or not how. It's a what, Prexy. Very smart, okay? So what are people trying to do? People are trying to eliminate mistakes. It's our goal as humans, absolutely. So if I'm not mistaken, this should be in the very, very, very beginning as the what? The pursuit of perfection is one of the driving forces behind humanity. Ooh, look at that. It's the first sentence of the introduction. It's the what of the what of the what. Okay? So, it is with confidence, and then I keep going. Okay. A key moral difference in the usage of tone correction software. So 31 is a key moral difference in the usage of tone correction software. That's going to be a body paragraph. That's going to be answering, again, a what type of question. Okay? So again, it should be somewhere in the body, and if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the middle. Right? So that's the ethics that we're talking about. So some people use it for beauty, others to deceive. So where was that paragraph about deception? Okay, it was here in D, deceiving. D, T-Pain, Cher, they don't deceive. You know that when Cher is singing, "Do you believe in life after love?" There's a robotic sound, but with other people, no. So here is the right or wrong. Correct answer, D. And I don't have to search a lot. I just know. Okay. Oops, sorry. D. All right. A sports analogy. Yeah, Pachu, you're getting the hang of it. It's in the middle. Anwar Al-Asafi, excellent. You're on par with me. 31D, very good. All right, Sarbjeet, good. You got it. 32, sports analogy. Abhishek says that's E. Come on, guys, that's easy. It's a how. It's a body paragraph. It's the one talking about football. It's got to be E. Okay. Munzir agrees. Very good. Lack of clarity about what a concert goer is really hearing. So not sure about what a person who goes to a concert is really hearing. It's a bit of a tricky one, that last one. So second to last one, sorry, 33. So not sure what you're listening to when you go and watch a live concert. Abhishek says that's F, I think. It's the conclusion. It leaves you with that take-home message. I know many students watch the writing task 2 classes also. And you remember that in task 2, your conclusion has a message that you take home. That's what that is. Patricio, Uchifuna, absolutely, you're right. It is F, okay? So the last paragraph is F. You don't have to search, by the way, for what is the last paragraph because you have A to F. So A is the intro, F is the last one. You could probably even get some of these without even looking for the letter of the paragraph. Okay, the origins of tone correction software. So the origin of tone correction software. What would you guess? Let's say you're running out of time. What would you guess? You have A, C, D, F. The origin of tone correction software. Abhishek says it's the 1990s. In paragraph B, Patricio's going, yeah, I think that was paragraph B, somewhere near the beginning. Right. Okay, again, the origins of tone correction software. Think about the information. Where would the author introduce the origin of the software? Well, it makes sense to put it somewhere near the beginning. In the introduction, maybe not. But paragraph B, absolutely, in 1990. And if you had to guess, because you're running out of time, look, you have A, C, D, E twice, and you have F. Take a guess. The only one that's still missing is B. So you might want to guess B if you ran out of time and you just had to take a guess anyway. Okay? So those are the correct answers. E, C, A, D, E, F, B. Okay? That's how you do that kind of Q&A. Okay, what does tone correction software do? So I'm covering the choices on purpose here because the strategy for multiple choice is to think about the answer on your own. What does tone correction software do? What's the answer to that, students? So I read this passage. What does tone correction software do? In your own words. Think about it and then match the correct answer. So I don't want to know the answer, Anwar. I want to know what it does, okay? Because I don't want to know the answer just for this reading passage. I want to be able to answer any IELTS reading passage with multiple choice. So Patricia says it corrects the voice. It makes imperfect sounds perfect, right? My answer. Good. Let's see if anything matches. Corrects imperfect notes, turns humans into robots, turns poor singers into great singers, corrects sharp notes by making them flat. So which one is the best answer? Corrects imperfect notes, corrects sharp notes by making them flat, turns poor singers into great singers, turns humans into robots. What's the best answer? So makes music perfect. What's the best answer? Patricio, Carlos, Prexy. You're right. It's A. Okay? Corrects imperfect notes. D is contained in A, but A also contains other notes, such as sharp notes. It corrects imperfect notes. Okay? So not just sharp notes. It also corrects flat notes when they're supposed to be something else. It doesn't just simply turn poor singers into great singers. Mick Jagger is a great singer. He doesn't sing perfect, right? So it corrects imperfect notes. The correct answer is A. This is the best answer. Okay? That's why you have to think about the answer on your own and not try to choose based on what you see. Does that make sense? Absolutely, Prexy. It is the closest paraphrase of perfection. Okay, making music perfect is what auto tone correction does. Okay, absolutely. All right, next one. Don't read the answers. Don't do damage. How did rudimentary usages of the software differ from modern usages? So, in your own words, how did the early usage of software differ from modern usage? So for 36, what's your answer? So how did rudimentary usage of software differ from modern usage? Remember Cher? Remember T-Pain? What did they do? In your own words. Don't give me the answer. Give me, in your own words, the answer to the question. Imagine that this is a short sentence answer and it's not a multiple choice. So the early software did what? Rudimentary means in the early days. So like in the 90s. So up he says that, well, in the early days, people knew that the technology was changing the sound, like a robot, like the example of, do you believe in life after love? Okay. So in the early days, Cher and people used it for an aesthetic quality, like an instrument, right? And now we're using it to deceive and trick people to think that we're singing perfect songs. That's my answer. Is it there? Rudimentary usages corrected imperfect notes? No. Modern usages cannot correct live performances? No. Both usages correct imperfect notes? I don't think so. Rudimentary usages were obvious to the listener. Yeah, that one sounds right. So D, okay? That's the closest to what my answer is to this question. Okay, students, let's have a look at the last multiple choice, 37. How do artists like T-Pain and Cher use the software? How do artists and T-Pain use the software? Do they deceive their audience? No, I don't think so. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, Pachu, but that's not true. So how do artists like T-Pain and Cher use the software? I just gave you the example. Well, your answer should be to make it sound interesting, for aesthetic purpose. Thank you. Omuaima Lahibibi. Lahbibi. Thank you for that answer. It's for aesthetic purpose. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Does anything match? To negate aesthetic merit, for aesthetic effect, to improve the quality of sound, to avoid the immorality of using modern tone correction software. Which one's the right answer? Which one's closest for Omuaima's answer for aesthetic purpose? Which one's closest for aesthetic purpose? Marina says B, and Omuaima says, yeah, that's got to be B. I agree. That's B. Okay. So the answer there is B. For aesthetic effect, for aesthetic purpose. It's the same, okay? If you see some tricky words like to negate and merit, don't think that just because they're using high-level vocabulary, that's the correct answer. IELTS isn't stupid. They know that students are thinking that's a strategy. That's not a strategy. That doesn't show English. Understanding what you're answering shows English. For aesthetic effect, okay? So B is the correct answer. They're not improving the quality of the sound. They're giving it more of a uniqueness or more beauty. Okay? Prexy, you're right. Effect is the synonym there that we were looking for. Okay, students, here's the true, false, not given. 3 questions. I do not have time to discuss this strategy with you. I'll do that on another class. There's a great high-definition video on our YouTube channel for true, false, not given strategy. So check out that video. It's a free video on the YouTube channel. Search our channel for true, false, not given reading in general IELTS, and you'll find a video that's just for that strategy, okay? Otherwise, you've done a great job. It's been another fantastic day teaching all of you. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow's class will be task 2, causes and solutions. And again, for lots more reading strategies, high definition videos, and 6 original practice exams, a fully interactive course, check us out at gieltshelp.com, gieltshelp.com. And again, when you're there, don't be shy. Go and click on that big red button, the Join Now button, and get our full course. It's absolutely worth spending a couple dollars so you really improve your band scores and know what you're doing and improve your English and your communication, okay? Academic IELTS is this site with the blue background with that red button there. All right, students. I hope you got some good tips that will help you on your next exam. And I will see many of you tomorrow, and I'm sure I will see some of you in 30 minutes on our Academic English Help channel, where we are doing an Academic IELTS Task 1. Okay, it's a pie chart. It's for Academic IELTS. If you're doing General IELTS, don't worry about it. Just practice some General IELTS instead, okay? Bye for now, everyone. Much love to all of you.